Okay, hello everyone and welcome. This is See Through. It is a podcast with me, Achyuta Gopi, where we all come together as a community. We have a little bit of a virtual sangha. There we go. We have a bit of a virtual sangha. I like to call it virtual Vrindavan because why not? And it is the place where we come to gain some spiritual insight, to somehow or other find our way through Vedic literature, and then help each other find our way through life. Hence the name See Through. We help see each other through. And then we also help get some clarity so things become a little bit more transparent and see through. So this is the one place where you don't have to do spirituality alone. And I'm really grateful that this place exists. I'm really grateful that all of you are here tuning in. If you're in the Zoom room, thank you, thank you, thank you. To all the ones on Patreon and all the patrons who are going to tune in now or later, now and later. And thank you to everybody who's here watching on YouTube. My pranams, my respects, my obeisances. Welcome to all of you. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is a really special day. It is Ekadashi, Mohini Ekadashi. But it is also an Ekadashi that has fallen on Dwadasi. And this is Rukmini Dwadashi, which means it is the appearance day of Rukmini, the first and the chief of Krishna's queens. And I remember when I used to teach Sunday school, we would speak about Queen Rukmini, Krishna's chief queen and wife. And everybody, all the children would kind of look at me. And you ever have a pet or like a puppy, and you say something, and the puppy goes, and it's really adorable, but also they're very confused. So the children would look and like small little cute adorable puppies, and then some of them would finally get the bravery within their hearts to say, "Wait, you mean he wasn't married to Radharani?" And then I have to explain to the children, well, yes and no. Yes, kind of secretly in Vrindavan, but externally, for all of the formal official purposes, nope. She was married to somebody else. And then all of the children are then like completely flabbergasted. What do you mean? How could this be? How is this possible? And if you are wondering that is a very long tale to get into. It is, wow. KC Society. Okay. That is a very long tale, but it is one that maybe, if you stick with me, I'll answer as we go through Krishna book. But I promise you, it is incredibly exciting. It brings unlimited sweetness to the heart, and it is a story that reconciles all doubts about Krishna. And that's what I find the most when we come in contact with pastimes like these. Pastimes where you find out that Rukmini is his chief wife and not exactly Radharani. And then we start having doubts about Krishna. You mean to tell me that he gave Radharani all this love, but then didn't marry her and didn't know all these things, and then the heart, the mind starts to get jumbled up into like thick, thorny forests of doubts. Yeah. And so this is definitely a pastime that starts to reconcile and dispel all doubts about Krishna. So today we are going to delve into Krishna book. We're going to actually skip forward a little bit and then jump back. And we're going to skip forward a little bit because on Rukmini Dwadashi, it would be a shame to not speak about Rukmini. Yeah, it would be a shame. So we are going to jump forward into Krishna book, into the section, chapters 52 and 53, that speak about the kidnapping of Rukmini, which can it really be called kidnapping if that's what you desire? Right? Like, it's not stalking if you like it. Right? So, the kidnapping of Rukmini we'll talk about. But beforehand, I was talking with the friends on Patreon and in our Zoom room about this book, Broken Names. It is a book by His Holiness Sachinandan Swami, and I had just been rereading it over the weekend, actually before then, Friday and Saturday. And this book was just amazing. Such a companion. And reading it, this is the second time I've read it, and reading it this time made me feel like I want to memorize every word in this book. Like, I just want to live within every word of this book. And let's see if I can pull up one of the quotes that I really, really liked. Let's see if my Kindle will cooperate. That is one of the things that I actually do like about Kindle. The ability to highlight and take extensive notes in books. I was a person who liked to always like highlight and write in the margins of my books. But in a book like this, I'd need like 3 different copies of the book in order to do that. So I do like the fact that I have the added advantage of having it on Kindle devices where I can highlight to my heart's content. I can change the highlights. I can go and highlight in different colors. I can take all the notes on all the sides of all the highlights that I've made. And then I can go and easily just kind of like, whoop, find what I'm looking for. So that's kind of what I like about it. Let's see. Found it. Okay. So this is speaking about what is needed in order to chant the holy name. And Sachinandan Maharaj, long story short, is on behalf of all of us, creating a conversation between a boy and his guru and a very interesting guest. And so it is said that the process of bhakti is the supreme intelligence of the intelligent and the cleverness of the most clever. For by following it, one can in this very life make use of the temporary and unreal body to achieve me, the eternal reality. And then, a little further on in that chapter, it says, because then it speaks of using all of the senses and the sense objects like the ears and the eyes and the tongue to glorify Krishna and to chant the holy name. So now we have, one can also engage the hands and other limbs in the service of the Lord. In fact, the Lord can be attained even if one offers only one part of the body. The most useful part in this connection is the tongue, because in this age of darkness, all processes of devotional service bow down before the chanting of the holy names of the Lord, which is considered the king of them all. Just as limbs are connected to the body, all the processes of bhakti grow from chanting the Lord's names. That, I was just like, I was kind of swimming in sweetness. And I found that there would be sections that I couldn't even move on before I read it like 3 times. I kept feeling like, no, just read that line one more time. Okay, one more time. Okay, now we can move on. But it is such a small book and it's jam-packed with jewels like that. So it is definitely worth it. Please look into it. It is called Broken Names. It is by His Holiness Sachinandan Swami. It is available in print. It's a hard cover small book, which is nice because it's protected. Let's get it away from my ring light. So it's a hardcover book. And then the Kindle version enables you to easily find whatever you're looking for if you're a highlighter and comment note taker like myself. So this is today is I'm feeling so grateful to the holy name, and we're going to jump into the story of Rukmini and her kidnapping, as Srila Prabhupada and Krishna and she herself calls it. And we are going to see how the holy name plays such an integral part of this story. Let's dive. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are kind of in the middle of chapter 52, because the beginning of chapter 52 has some other things in it that we're not, it would take a long time to make that long story short. So we're starting kind of in the middle of the chapter. And there's a paragraph that says, following this incident, which is the incident that we have we'll come back to, don't worry, we'll get there. Following this incident, Sri Balaram married Revati, daughter of King Revata, ruler of the Anart province. This is explained in the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which I am now researching because I know I've read the 9th canto, but somehow I've missed that, Srila Prabhupada. And I'm not ashamed to say that I miss a lot of things, so I'm going to go back and research that part. After the marriage of Baladev, Krishna married Rukmini. Rukmini was the daughter of King Bhishmak, ruler of the province known as Vidarbha. Just as Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, Vasudev, Rukmini is the supreme goddess of fortune, Mahalakshmi. According to the authority of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the expansion of Krishna and that of Srimati Radharani are simultaneously. Krishna expands himself into various Vishnu Tattva forms, and Srimati Radharani expands herself into various Shakti Tattva forms by her internal potency as multi-forms of the goddess of fortune. According to the Vedic convention, there are 8 kinds of marriage. In the first class marriage system, the parents of the bride and bridegroom arrange the marriage date. Then, in royal style, the bridegroom goes to the house of the bride, and in the presence of brahmanas, priests, and relatives, the bride is given in charity to the bridegroom. Besides this, there are other systems, such as the Gandharva and Rakshasa marriages. Krishna married Rukmini according to the Rakshasa system, kidnapping her in the presence of his many rivals, like Shishupal, Jarasandha, and Shalva. While Rukmini was being given in charity to Shishupal, Krishna snatched her from the marriage arena exactly as Garuda snatched a pot of nectar from the demigods. Rukmini, the only daughter of King Bhishmak, was exquisitely beautiful. She was known as Ruchiranana, which means one who has a beautiful face expanded like a lotus flower. Devotees of Krishna are always eager to hear about the transcendental activities of the Lord. His activities of fighting, kidnapping, and running away from the battlefield are all transcendental, being on the absolute platform, and devotees take a transcendental interest in hearing of them. The pure devotee does not make the distinction that some activities of the Lord should be heard and others avoided. And this is how we know I wasn't a pure devotee, and still am not. Because growing up, I loved the Vrindavan pastimes, and then I would pay attention to like 3 Dwarka pastimes. And I always used to think, the Dwarka ones aren't as sweet. This isn't my cowherd boy Krishna. This is not my Govinda. This is somebody else. And then as I got older and I started diving deeper into my Krishna consciousness and allowing Krishna to teach me, instead of thinking that I knew best, I realized why Srila Prabhupada gave all of this Krishna book and all of the 10th canto, because he could have stopped. He could have said, all you need to know is about Krishna and Vrindavan. Don't pay attention to anything else. But he did the work of making sure that we had Krishna book, Krishna's pastimes, beginning to end, full version. And I realized the importance of it. If we have faith that Krishna's sweetness is unlimited, that Krishna's wonderful pastimes are unlimited, then we are able to find our Govinda, our Lord of unlimited sweetness, in every single pastime. And whatever doubts that we have will actually be reconciled. They'll be wiped away by Krishna's mercy. Because then we put in the work to say, actually, Krishna, I trust you. Actually, Krishna, I want to give my friend the benefit of the doubt that something is going on beneath the surface. I just have to research what it is. And that eagerness at heart and the determination to find out what's going on underneath the surface really attracts Krishna. And when he is attracted, he starts telling us all kinds of interesting things about himself. Now, I'm always like amazed. Like, does everybody know this about you? No, I'm special. So, there is, however, a class of so-called devotees known as Prakrita Sahajyas, who are very interested in hearing about Krishna's Rasa Lila with the gopis, but not about his fighting with his enemies. They do not know that his bellicose, or belligerent fighting activities, and his friendly activities with the gopis are equally transcendental, being on the absolute platform. All the transcendental pastimes of Krishna described in Srimad Bhagavatam are relished by pure devotees through submissive oral, through the ear, reception. They do not reject even a drop. It's kind of the point where I want to get to, where I don't reject even a drop of Krishna's sweetness. The story of Krishna's marriage with Rukmini is described as follows. The king of Vidarbha, Maharaj Bhishmak, was very qualified and devoted. He had 5 sons and only 1 daughter. The first son was known as Rukmi, the second Rukmarata, the third Rukmabahu, the fourth Rukmakesha, and the 5th Rukmamali. The brothers had 1 young sister, Rukmini. She was beautiful and chaste, and was meant to be married to Lord Krishna. Many saintly persons and sages like Narada Muni used to visit the palace of King Bhishmak. Naturally, Rukmini had a chance to talk with them, and in this way, she obtained information about Krishna. She was informed about the 6 opulences of Krishna, and simply by hearing about him, or the holy name, right? She desired to surrender herself to his lotus feet and become his wife. Kirtan is the most romantic thing anybody could ever do, apparently. Krishna had also heard of Rukmini. Now imagine having qualities so nice that someone runs to Krishna and says, but you must know about this devotee. Just look at how much love they have for you. What a blessing that would be. I feel like today, during Ekadashi, as I chant japa later and as I chant in kirtan later, I feel like I'm gonna go and tell Krishna about all of you. Like, Krishna, I know you're in everybody's hearts, but all of my friends are the best. Like, I have the best friends and the best community that the whole world could ever ask for. I can't believe how fortunate I am to have such an amazing group of virtual Vrindavan Vasis. So I think that's going to be one of my meditations today. Let us carry each other's character to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Krishna had also heard of Rukmini. She was the reservoir of all transcendental qualities: intelligence, auspicious physical features, liberal-mindedness, exquisite beauty, and righteous behavior. Krishna therefore decided that she was fit to be his wife. All of the relatives of King Bhishmak decided that Rukmini should be given in marriage to Krishna. But her elder brother Rukmi, despite the desires of the others, arranged for her marriage with Shishupal, a determined enemy of Krishna. Yikes. Which, determined enemy and also his relative. Why? If we ever think, I have family members that don't like me, Krishna stayed having family members that hated him and wanted to kill him. We have not at all experienced the level of familial hatred that Krishna has experienced. It's a little bit out of control at this point. So Shishupal was a determined enemy of Krishna. When the black-eyed, beautiful Rukmini heard of this settlement, she immediately became very morose. However, being a king's daughter, she understood political diplomacy and decided that there was no use in simply being morose. Some steps should be taken immediately. After some deliberation, she decided to send a message to Krishna, and so that she might not be deceived, she selected a qualified Brahmana as her messenger. Such a qualified Brahman is always truthful and is a devotee of Vishnu. Without delay, she sent the Brahman to Dwarka. So sometimes Rukmini is described as having green eyes, and here Srila Prabhupada has her with black eyes. But in either case, they're very dark. Either dark green or dark almost black, or so dark green that they look black, but they're very, very dark. And as a person who has brown eyes, but they're so dark that you can barely see any of the brown in them, even shining like lights in my eyes, which I've done as a child a lot to try and like, let me see what color they are. But they're so dark. There's a few instances in Srimad Bhagavatam where they emphasize this dark, almost black color of a woman's eyes. Then they start calling it auspicious. And I kept wondering, say what? What do you mean auspicious? And then when I was reading, they said that those dark black colored eyes are considered auspicious because your eyes reflect what you're often thinking about. And so those dark eyes, she was so engrossed in thinking about Krishna that her eyes were dark because that's what she was always meditating on. And that's what is said about, there's another woman and has dark black eyes in Srimad Bhagavatam, and they say she's always so concentrated on thinking of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that her eyes were so dark, almost black. And it was at that moment that I was like, I will never complain again about my eye color. If that's what that means, I'll take it. No problem. Reaching the gate of Dwarka, the Brahmana informed the doorkeeper of his arrival, and the doorkeeper led him to the place where Krishna was sitting on a golden throne. Since the Brahman had the opportunity to be Rukmini's messenger, he was fortunate enough to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, the original cause of all causes. A Brahman is the spiritual teacher of all social divisions. Lord Shri Krishna, in order to teach everyone the Vedic etiquette of how to respect a Brahman, immediately got up and offered his throne. Oh, my Krishna's too sweet, man. When the Brahman was seated on the golden throne, Lord Shri Krishna began to worship him exactly as the demigods worship Krishna. In this way, he taught everyone that worshiping his devotee is more valuable than worshiping him. Absolutely. Vaishnav Seva will save your life. In due time, the Brahman took his bath, accepted his meals, and lay down to rest on a bedstead completely bedecked with soft silk. As he was resting, Lord Shri Krishna silently approached him, and with great respect put the Brahmana's legs on his lap and began to massage them. And I know we've spoken about this before. This is the good fortune of being the messenger of any good fortune to Krishna. Just imagine, we can all be that messenger anytime we want. We can always go and tell Krishna, do you know what good I've heard about this person? And then just list all that person, all the favorite qualities of that person. Krishna is so indebted to those who speak highly of his devotees and who praise his devotees. This is what he does. No, come sit on my bed. No, rest yourself. Let me massage your own legs. If we want to get close to Krishna, the first of the 10 offenses against chanting the holy name is not to blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives to the propagation of the holy name. Conversely, though, on the opposite end, one way to make a positive out of that is these are like, we now have 10 gifts to bind Krishna closer to us. The first of which is simply go to Krishna and praise your favorite devotees. If you start speaking kindly about your favorite devotees, Krishna becomes incredibly indebted to you. Incredibly indebted. If there are some devotees that you don't feel so favorable towards, don't talk about them. Talk about the ones that you like. Make it easy on yourself. So in this way, Krishna appeared before the Brahmin and said, "My dear Brahmana, I hope that you are executing the religious principles without difficulty, and that your mind is always peaceful. Different classes of people in the social system are engaged in various professions, and when one inquires as to the well-being of a particular person, he should do so on the basis of that person's occupation. Therefore, when one inquires as to the welfare of a Brahmana, the questions should be worded according to his condition of life, so as not to disturb him." Which is so sweet. Like, you want to ask questions of a person so as not to disturb them. You ever get those people who ask you how you're doing and you know they're just trying to destroy your peace? A peaceful mind is the basis for becoming truthful, clean, equipoised, self-controlled, and tolerant. Thus, by attaining knowledge and knowing its practical application in life, one becomes convinced of the absolute truth. The Brahmana knew Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and still he accepted the respectful service of the Lord on the grounds of Vedic social convention. Lord Sri Krishna was playing just like a human being. Because he belonged to the Kshatriya division of the social system and was a young boy, it was his duty to show respect to such a Brahmin. And by a young boy, he was anywhere from 36 to 38 years old. So, yeah. But you know, young boy. Lord Krishna continued, "O best of all the Brahmanas, you should always remain satisfied. For if a Brahmana is always self-satisfied, he will not deviate from his prescribed duties. And simply by sticking to one's prescribed duties, everyone, especially a Brahmana, can attain the highest perfection of all desires. Even if a person is as opulent as the king of heaven, Indra, if he is not satisfied, he inevitably has to transmigrate from one planet to another. Such a person can never be happy under any circumstances. But if one's mind is satisfied, even if he is bereft of all possessions, he can be happy living anywhere." And of course we see this. We see it everywhere. There are people who live with nothing and they're fine. They're happy. They're actually experiencing life much more than we are. And then we get people in developed countries, right? They're no longer called first world countries, developed countries. And we have all these like possessions. We've got all this stuff, and all it's done is filled us with anxiety and turned us into hoarders. So, if the mind is not satisfied and if we are not steady, we can't find happiness anywhere. Nowhere at all. This instruction by Krishna to the Brahmana is very significant. The purport is that a true Brahmana should not be disturbed in any condition, in any situation. In this modern age, Kali Yuga, the so-called Brahmanas have accepted the abominable position of Shudras, or less, and still want to pass as qualified Brahmanas. Actually, a qualified Brahmin always sticks to his own duties and never accepts those of a Shudra or of one less than a Shudra. It is advised in the authorized scriptures that a Brahmin may, under awkward circumstances, accept the profession of a Kshatriya or even a Vaishya, but never is he to accept the profession of a Shudra. Lord Krishna declared that a Brahmin will never be disturbed by any adverse conditions if he scrupulously sticks to his religious principles. In conclusion, Lord Sri Krishna said, "I offer my respectful obeisances to the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, for the Brahmanas are always self-satisfied, and the Vaishnavas are always engaged in actual welfare activities for human society. They are the best friends of the people in general. They are free from false egoism and are always in a peaceful condition of mind." I like how the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas are in two totally different categories. I love it, I love it. I love it so much. Lord Krishna then desired to know about the rulers, Kshatriyas, in the Brahmana's kingdom. So he inquired whether the citizens of the kingdom were all happy. A king's qualification is judged by the temperament of the people in the kingdom. If they are happy in all respects, it is to be understood that the king is honest and is executing his duties rightly. Krishna said that the king in whose kingdom the citizens are happy is very dear to him. Of course, Krishna could understand that the Brahman had come with a confidential message. Therefore, he said, "If you have no objection, I give you liberty to speak about your mission." Thus, being very much satisfied by these transcendental pastimes with the Lord, the Brahmin narrated the whole story of his mission in coming to see Krishna. He got out the letter Rukmini had written to Krishna and said, "Here we go. Eternal love letters. I love it. Bhakti is so romantic." These are the words of Princess Rukmini. "My dear Krishna, O infallible and most beautiful one, any human being who happens to hear about your transcendental form and pastimes immediately absorbs through his ears your name, fame, and qualities. Thus all his material pangs subside, and he fixes your form in his heart." See, chanting of the holy name saves the world. "Through such transcendental love for you, he always sees you within himself, and by this process all his desires are fulfilled. Similarly, I have heard of your transcendental qualities. I may be shameless in expressing myself directly, but you have captivated me and taken my heart. You may doubt my steadiness of character, since how could an unmarried young girl like me approach you without any shame? But my dear Mukunda, you are the supreme lion among human beings." The Sanskrit is she actually calls him Nrsingadev, which is adorable, because Nrsinga Chaturdasi is coming. So adorable. "You are the supreme lion among human beings, the supreme person among persons. Any girl, though not yet having left her home, or even any woman of the highest chastity would desire to marry you, being captivated by your unprecedented character, knowledge, opulence, and position. I know that you are the husband of the goddess of fortune, and are very kind toward your devotees. Therefore, I have decided to become your eternal maidservant. My dear Lord, I dedicate my life and soul unto your lotus feet. I have selected your lordship as my husband, and I therefore request you to accept me as your wife. You are the supreme, powerful, O lotus-eyed one. Now I belong to you. If that which is enjoyable for the lion to eat is taken away by the jackal, it will be a ludicrous affair. Therefore, I request you to immediately take care of me before I am taken away by Shishupal and other princes like him. My dear Lord, in my previous life, I may have done some public welfare work like digging wells and planting trees, or pious activities such as performing ritualistic ceremonies and sacrifices and serving superiors like the spiritual master, Brahmanas, and Vaishnavas. By these activities, perhaps I have pleased the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan. If this be so, then I wish that you, Lord Krishna, the brother of Lord Balaram, please come here and catch hold of my hand, so that I shall not be touched by Shishupal and his company." Rukmini's marriage with Shishupal was already settled. Therefore, she suggested that Krishna kidnap her, so that this might be changed. This sort of marriage, in which the girl is kidnapped by force, is known as Rakshasa, and is practiced among Kshatriyas, or men with an administrative, martial spirit. Because her marriage was already arranged to take place the next day, Rukmini suggested that Krishna come there incognito, in disguise, to kidnap her, and then fight with Shishupal and his allies like the king of Magad. Knowing that no one could conquer Krishna, who would certainly emerge victorious, she addressed him as Ajita, the unconquerable Lord. Rukmini told Krishna not to be concerned. The joys of digital life. I completely went back to a different page. Rukmini told Krishna not to be concerned, that the fighting would take place within the palace, and that many of her family members, including other women, might thus be wounded or killed. As the king of a country thinks of diplomatic ways to achieve his object, Rukmini, being the daughter of a king, was diplomatic in suggesting how this unnecessary and undesirable killing could be avoided. She explained that it was the custom of her family to visit the temple of goddess Durga, their family deity, before a marriage. The Kshatriya kings were mostly staunch Vaishnavas, worshipping Lord Vishnu in either the Radha Krishna or Lakshmi Narayan form. Still, for their material welfare, they used to worship goddess Durga. They never made the mistake, however, of accepting the demigods as the supreme lord on the level of Vishnu Tattva, as do some less intelligent men, which is actually the second offense in chanting the holy names, to consider the names and the personalities of the demigods, such as Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, to be equal to or independent of the holy name and the position of Sri Krishna. However, 2.5, like the little subtext, it is also an offense to reject them as though they have nothing to do with Sri Krishna. So, you don't put them on the same position because that makes it very awkward for them, but you do not reject them as though they have nothing to do with Sri Krishna. We can still understand that the goddess Durga is none other than Krishna's own sister. So, would we put them on the same level? Not exactly, because me and my elder brother are not on the same level. I can understand he's older than me, taller than me, he's bigger than me, so many differences. But also, if someone were to reject me as though they only liked him and not me and they hated me, not only would I not like that person, but if my brother continued to be friends with that person, I would feel so betrayed. Also, my parents never let us do that. They didn't allow us to have friends that weren't also friendly with the rest of the family members. And if my brother is here, he can actually attest to that on YouTube. But we'd actually get in trouble if we were friends with people who did not like our siblings. My mom's firm philosophy was, if they don't like your siblings, they don't like you. Which is very interesting when we think about Krishna. If we don't like his siblings, we clearly don't like him. To avoid the unnecessary killing of her relatives, Rukmini suggested that it would be easiest for him to kidnap her while she was either going from the palace to the temple or else returning home. She also explained to Krishna why she was anxious to marry him, even though her marriage was to take place with Shishupal, who was also qualified, being the son of a great king. I mean, sometimes the answer is as simple as, I don't like him. We don't like him. Rukmini said that she did not think anyone was greater than Krishna, not even Lord Shiva, who is known as Mahadev, the greatest of all demigods. Lord Shiva also seeks the pleasure of Lord Krishna in order to be delivered from his entanglement in the quality of ignorance within the material world. Although Lord Shiva is the greatest of all great souls, Mahatmas, he keeps on his head the purifying water of the Ganges, which emanates from a hole in this material universe made by the toe of Lord Vishnu. Lord Shiva is in charge of the material quality of ignorance, and to keep himself in a transcendental position, he always meditates on Lord Vishnu or Krishna, and always tries to purify himself with the water of the Ganges. Therefore, Rukmini knew very well that obtaining the favor of Krishna was not easy. Since even Lord Shiva must purify himself for this purpose, surely it would be difficult for Rukmini, who was only the daughter of a Kshatriya king. Thus she desired to dedicate her life to observing severe austerities and penances, such as fasting and going without bodily comforts. If it were not possible in this lifetime to gain Krishna's favor by these activities, she was prepared to die from such austerities and to undergo similar difficulties lifetime after lifetime. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that pure devotees of the Lord execute devotional service with great determination. Such determination, as exhibited by Rukmini Devi, is the only price for purchasing Krishna's favor. One should be strongly determined in Krishna consciousness, and that is the way to ultimate success. So I asked myself that question. Would I be determined to wait for Krishna's mercy for lifetimes? I'm very impatient. I want it yesterday. Not now, I want it yesterday. I wanted to already have it already. The fulfillment of all my desires, Krishna's mercy, Krishna Prema, the whole deal. And Rukmini is saying that it is simply enough for her to dedicate her life even to just the thought and the desire of becoming Krishna's. Simply having that desire is enough for her life. And she is so determined she will wait for lifetimes, for however long it takes for Krishna to hear her call. And she was only somewhere between 14 and 16. What kind of determination? This is like unfathomable. My Guru Maharaj always likes to say, we can't imitate, but we can learn from the example. We cannot imitate Rukmini's example. I mean, if there's an Ekadashi and then another fasting day right next to it, I start talking about, oh, I'm going to lose my life. I've done so much austerity. There's more? How could there be more? Rukmini is willing to fast for lifetimes in order to achieve the favor of Krishna. So, no, I can't imitate. But on a day like today, on a day like Ekadashi, in the mood of Rukmini, for this one day, I can imbibe that mood. That Krishna, it is enough just to know that I'm under your shelter. It is enough just to know about you. Just hearing about you, hearing the glories of your holy name, hearing the kirtan of your wonderful pastimes. It is enough. It is enough to spur my determination that one day I will capture Krishna within the core of my heart. One day I won't be forever entangled in just my desires, and I won't be selfish anymore. One day I will catch Krishna. If not today, then tomorrow, and if not tomorrow, then whatever lifetime. But it is enough to know that I am trying. Wow. Can we try our best and be satisfied with that? What a question to ask. After relaying Rukmini Devi's statement to Krishna, the Brahmin said, My dear Krishna, chief of the Yadu dynasty, I have brought this confidential message for you from Rukmini. Now it is placed before you for your consideration. After due deliberation, you may act as you please. But if you want to do something, you must do it immediately. There is not much time left for action. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 52nd chapter of Krishna, the Ranachor. Krishna who flees from the battlefield. And we'll see how much of 53 we can get through, because why stop now? That would be a really mean thing to do. We don't even know if Rukmini gets the fulfillment of her desires. That'd be really terrible. Can you imagine? Like, okay, see you. Chapter 53. Krishna kidnaps Rukmini. After hearing Rukmini's statement, because this is one of my favorite parts, Lord Krishna was very much pleased. He immediately shook hands with the Brahmana, which I just see the Lord of the universe like, thank you. He shook hands with the Brahmana and said, My dear Brahman, I am very glad to hear that Rukmini is eager to marry me, since I am also eager to get her hand. My mind is always absorbed in thoughts of the daughter of Bhishmak. Sometimes I cannot sleep at night because I am thinking of her. Can we just stop right there for a second? Lord? Imagine thinking of the Lord so much that now he can't sleep at night because he's busy thinking about you. Perfection of my life. This is incredibly romantic. And Garga Samhita states a little secret that they had actually exchanged a couple of love letters between them. They were communicating as like little Vedic pen pals before this happened. So, just saying, they knew. And I can only imagine what else was said in these other letters, because then he responded, he would respond to her letters. So he didn't just leave her on read. He actually texted back. This is the romance that I need in my life. So now he can't sleep because his mind is absorbed in thoughts of Rukmini, and that is adorable. I can understand that the marriage of Rukmini with Shishupal has been arranged by her elder brother in a spirit of animosity toward me. So I am determined to give a good lesson to all of these princes. Just as one extracts and uses fire after manipulating ordinary wood, After dealing with these demoniac princes, I shall bring forth Rukmini like fire from their midst. Oh my God, why is he so smooth? He's so smooth. Krishna, upon being informed of the specific date of Rukmini's marriage, was anxious to leave immediately. He asked his driver Daruka to harness the horses for his chariot and prepare to go to the kingdom of Vidarbha. After hearing this order, the driver brought Krishna's 4 special horses. The names and descriptions of these horses are mentioned in the Padma Purana. The first one, Shaibya, was greenish. Now that is literally a horse of a different color. The second, Sugriva, was grayish like ice. The third, Meghapushpa, was the color of a new cloud. And the last, Balahaka, was of ashen color. When the horses were yoked and the chariot was ready to go, Krishna helped the Brahmana up and gave him a seat by his side. Imagine, you get to ride on Krishna's chariot. Immediately they started from Dwarka and within one night arrived at the province of Vidarbha. The kingdom of Dwarka is situated in the western part of India, and Vidarbha is situated in the northern part. They are separated by a distance of not less than 1,000 miles, but the horses were so fast that they reached the destination, a town called Kundin, within one night, or at most 12 hours. That's like, you've got to fly. At that rate, just fly. King Bhishmak was not enthusiastic about handing his daughter over to Shishupal, but he was obliged to accept the marriage settlement due to his affectionate attachment for his eldest son, who had negotiated it. As a matter of duty, the king was decorating the city for the marriage ceremony and acting in great earnestness to make it very successful. I can only imagine how much anxiety this is causing the heart of Rukmini, watching all of her family, like with all their energy that they can muster and the enthusiasm, getting ready for this marriage that she does not want at all. And I feel she's just looking around like, is no one going to stop this? Like, is no one going to think of me at all? What is happening? Sometimes we feel like that. We've prayed and then we're kind of wondering, is no one going to stop what's happening? Krishna, do you see what's happening to me? Come save me now. Water was sprinkled all over the streets and the city was cleansed very nicely. Since India is situated in the tropical zone, the atmosphere is always dry. Dust always accumulates on the streets and roads, so they must be sprinkled with water at least once a day, and in big cities like Calcutta, twice a day. The roads of Kundin were arrayed with colored flags and festoons, and gates were constructed at particular crossings. The whole city was decorated very nicely. The beauty of the city was enhanced by its inhabitants, both men and women, who were dressed in fresh, washed clothes, and decorated with sandalwood pulp, pearl necklaces, and flower garlands. Incense burned everywhere, and fragrances like aguru scented the air. Priests and brahmanas were sumptuously fed, and according to ritualistic ceremony were given sufficient wealth and cows in charity. In this way they were engaged in chanting Vedic hymns. The king's daughter Rukmini was exquisitely beautiful. She was very clean and had beautiful teeth. The auspicious sacred thread was tied on her wrist. She was given various types of jewelry to wear and long silken cloth to cover the upper and lower parts of her body. Learned priests gave her protection by chanting mantras from the Samveda, Rigveda, and Yajurveda. Then they chanted mantras from the Atharva Veda and offered oblations into the fire to pacify the influence of different stars. King Bhishmak was experienced in dealing with brahmanas and priests when such ceremonies were held. He specifically honored the brahmanas by giving them large quantities of gold and silver, grain mixed with molasses, and cows decorated with cloth and ornaments. Damagosh, Shishupal's father, executed all kinds of ritualistic performances to invoke good fortune for his son. Shishupal's father was known as Damagosh due to his superior ability to cut down unregulated citizens. Wow. Dam means curbing down and Ghosh means famous. So he was famous for controlling the citizens. Damagosh thought that if Krishna came to disturb the marriage ceremony, he would certainly cut him down with his military power. So for a second I was wondering, why is Srila Prabhupada mentioning this? And then Srila Prabhupada answered, that's why I'm mentioning this. You see, he is infinite in his wisdom, Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, after performing the various auspicious ceremonies, Damagosh gathered his military divisions. He took many elephants, garlanded with golden necklaces, and many similarly decorated chariots and horses. It appeared that Damagosh, along with his son and other companions, was going to Kundin not exactly to get Shishupal married, but mainly to fight. It was like, the wedding is just an excuse, sir. Where are you going? When King Bhishmak learned that Damagosh and his party were arriving, he left the city to receive them. Outside the city gate were many gardens where guests were welcome to stay. In the Vedic system of marriage, the bride's father receives the large party of the bridegroom and accommodates them in a suitable place for 2 or 3 days until the marriage ceremony is performed. The party, led by Damagosh, contained thousands of men, among whom the prominent kings and personalities were Jarasandha, Dantavakra, Vidurata, and Pondrak. These are all demons. It was an open secret that Rukmini was meant to be married to Krishna, but that her elder brother Rukmi had arranged her marriage to Shishupal. There was also some whispering about a rumor that Rukmini had sent a messenger to Krishna. Therefore, the soldiers suspected that Krishna might cause a disturbance by attempting to kidnap Rukmini. Even though they were not without fear, they were all prepared to give Krishna a good fight to prevent the girl from being taken away. Sri Balaram received the news that Krishna had left for Kundin, accompanied only by a Brahmana, and that Shishupal was there with a large number of soldiers. Balaram suspected that they would attack Krishna, and thus, out of great affection for his brother, he took strong military divisions of chariots, infantry, horses, and elephants, and went to the precincts of Kundin. Meanwhile, inside the palace, Rukmini was expecting Krishna to arrive, but when neither he nor the Brahmin who took her message appeared, she was full of anxiety and began to think how unfortunate she was. There is only one night between today and my marriage day, and still neither the Brahmin nor Sham Sundar has returned. I cannot ascertain any reason for this. Having little hope, she thought that perhaps Krishna had found reason to become dissatisfied and had rejected her fair proposal. Oh. As a result, the Brahmin might have become disappointed and not come back. Although she was thinking of various causes for the delay, she expected them both at any moment. Rukmini further thought that the demigods such as Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and Goddess Durga might have been displeased. It is generally said that the demigods become angry when not properly worshipped. For instance, when Indra found that the inhabitants of Vrindavan were not worshipping him, Krishna stopped the Indra Yagya, he became angry and wanted to chastise them. Thus Rukmini thought that since she did not worship Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma very much, they might have become angry and tried to frustrate her plan. Similarly, she thought that Goddess Durga, the wife of Lord Shiva, might have taken the side of her husband. Lord Shiva is known as Rudra, and his wife is known as Rudrani. Rudrani and Rudra refer to those who are accustomed to putting others in distress to cry forever. Rukmini was thinking of Goddess Durga as Girija, the daughter of the Himalayan mountains. The Himalayan mountains are very cold and hard, and she thought of Goddess Durga as hard-hearted and cold. In her anxiety to see Krishna, Rukmini, who was, after all, still a child, thought this way about the different demigods. The gopis worshipped Goddess Katyayani to get Krishna as their husband. Similarly, Rukmini was thinking of the various types of demigods not for material benefit, but in respect to Krishna. Praying to the demigods to achieve the favor of Krishna is not irregular, and Rukmini was fully absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. So, once again, Srila Prabhupada is saying, it's okay. Even though she pacified herself by thinking that the time for Govinda to arrive had not yet expired. Rukmini felt that she was hoping against hope. Not expressing her mind to anyone, she simply shed tears, unobserved by others, and when her tears became more forceful, she closed her eyes in helplessness. Oh. While Rukmini was in such deep thought, auspicious symptoms appeared in different parts of her body. Trembling began to occur in her left eyelid, arm, and thigh. When trembling occurs in these parts of the body, it is an auspicious sign indicating that something lucrative can be expected. For female-bodied people. For male-bodied people, it's the opposite. Just then, Rukmini, full of anxiety, saw the Brahmin messenger. Krishna, being the super soul of all living beings, could understand Rukmini's anxiety, which is an important note and sentence for me. Krishna is the super soul of all living beings, and he can understand everyone's anxiety, even mine. Therefore, he sent the Brahmin inside the palace to let her know that he had arrived. When Rukmini saw the Brahmana, she could understand the auspicious trembling of her body and immediately became elated. She smiled and inquired whether Krishna had already come. The Brahmin replied that the son of the Yadu dynasty, Shri Krishna, had arrived. He further encouraged her by saying that Krishna had promised to carry her away without fail. Rukmini was so elated by the Brahmana's message that she wanted to give him in charity everything she possessed. However, finding nothing suitable for presentation, she simply offered him her respectful obeisances. The significance of offering respectful obeisances to a superior is that the one offering obeisances is obliged to the respected person. In other words, Rukmini implied that she would remain ever grateful to the Brahmana. Anyone who gets the favor of the goddess of fortune, as did this Brahmana, is without doubt always happy in material opulence. When King Bhishmak heard that Krishna and Balaram had come, he invited them to see the marriage ceremony of his daughter. Really? As if you don't know why they're there. Immediately he arranged to receive them along with their soldiers in a suitable garden house. As was the Vedic custom, the king offered Krishna and Balaram honey and fresh-washed garments. He was hospitable not only to Krishna, Balaram, and kings such as Jarasandh, but also to many other kings and princes according to their personal strength, age, and material possessions. Out of curiosity and eagerness, the people of Kundin assembled before Krishna and Balaram to drink the nectar of their beauty. With tearful eyes, they offered Krishna and Balaram their silent respects. They were very much pleased, considering Lord Krishna the suitable match for Rukmini. They were so eager to unite Krishna and Rukmini that they prayed to the personality of Godhead. Our dear Lord, if we have performed any pious activities with which you are satisfied, kindly be merciful upon us and accept the hand of Rukmini. Wow. It appears that Rukmini was a very popular princess, and all the citizens, out of intense love for her, prayed for her best fortune. In the meantime, Rukmini, being very nicely dressed and protected by bodyguards, came out of the palace to visit the temple of Ambika, goddess Durga. Deity worship in the temple has been in existence since the beginning of Vedic culture. There is a class of men described in the Bhagavad Gita as Veda Vadarat. They believe only in the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies, but not in temple worship. Such foolish people may here take note that although this marriage of Krishna and Rukmini took place more than 5,000 years ago, there were arrangements for temple worship. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Yanti Deva Vrata Devan. The worshippers of the demigods attain the abodes of the demigods. There were many people who worshipped the demigods, and many who directly worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The system of demigod worship was directed mainly to Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Lord Ganesh, the sun god, and goddess Durga. Lord Shiva and goddess Durga were worshipped even by the royal families. Other minor demigods were worshipped by silly lower-class people. As far as the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas are concerned, they simply worship Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Bhagavad Gita, the worship of demigods is condemned, but not forbidden. There it is clearly stated that the less intelligent men worship the demigods for material benefit. On the other hand, even though Rukmini was the goddess of fortune, she went to the temple of goddess Durga because the family deity was worshipped there. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that as Rukmini proceeded toward the temple of goddess Durga, within her heart she always thought of the lotus feet of Krishna. Therefore, when Rukmini went to the temple, it was not with the intention of an ordinary person who goes to beg for material benefits. Her only goal was Krishna. As Rukmini proceeded toward the temple, she was silent and grave. Her mother and her girlfriends were by her side, and the wife of a Brahmana was in the center. Surrounding her were royal bodyguards. This custom of a would-be bride's going to the temple of a demigod is still practiced in India. As the procession continued, various musical sounds were heard. Conch shells, drums such as panavas, and bugles of different sizes such as turyas and bedis were combined to make a sound which was not only auspicious but very sweet to hear. Thousands of wives of respectable brahmanas were present, all dressed very nicely with suitable ornaments. They presented Rukmini with flower garlands, sandalwood pulp, and a variety of colorful garments to assist her in worshipping Lord Shiva and Goddess Durga. Some of these ladies were very old and knew perfectly well how to chant prayers to Goddess Durga and Lord Shiva. So, followed by Rukmini and others, they led these prayers before the deity. Rukmini offered her prayers to the deity by saying, "My dear Goddess Durga, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you as well as to your children." Goddess Durga has four, Lord Ganesh and Lord Kartikeya. They are all considered to be demigods and goddesses. Since Goddess Durga is always worshipped with her famous children, Rukmini specifically offered her respectful obeisances to the deity in that way. However, her prayers were special. Ordinary people prayed to Goddess Durga for material wealth, fame, profit, strength, and so on. Rukmini, however, desired to have Krishna for her husband, and therefore prayed that the deity be pleased with her and bless her with that benediction. Since she desired only Krishna, her worship of the demigods is not condemned. While Rukmini was praying, she presented a variety of items before the deity, chief of which were water, different kinds of flames, incense, garments, garlands, and various foods prepared with ghee, such as puris and kachoris. She also offered fruits, sugarcane, betel nuts, and spices. With great devotion, Rukmini offered them to the deity according to the regulative principles directed by the old Brahmin ladies. After this ritualistic ceremony, the ladies offered the remnants of the food to Rukmini as prasadam, which she accepted with great respect. Then Rukmini offered her obeisances to the ladies and to Goddess Durga. After the business of deity worship was finished, Rukmini caught hold of the hand of one of her girlfriends in her own hand, which was decorated with a jeweled ring, and left the temple in the company of the others. All the princes and visitors who came to Kundin for the marriage had assembled outside the temple to see Rukmini. The princes were especially eager to see her, because they all actually thought that they would have Rukmini as their wife. Struck with wonder upon seeing Rukmini, they thought she was especially manufactured by the Creator to bewilder all the great chivalrous princes. Her body was well constructed, the middle portion being thin. Her high hips were adorned with a jeweled locket. She had pink lips, and the beauty of her face was enhanced by her slightly scattered hair, and by different kinds of earrings. The bodily luster and beauty of Rukmini appeared as if painted by an artist, perfectly presenting beauty following the descriptions of great poets. Rukmini's breasts are described as being somewhat high, indicating that she was just a youth, not more than 13 or 14 years old. Her beauty was specifically intended to attract the attention of Krishna. Although the princes gazed upon her beautiful features, she was not at all proud. Her eyes moved restlessly, and when she smiled very simply like an innocent girl, her teeth appeared just like jasmine buds. Expecting Krishna to take her away at any moment, she proceeded slowly toward her home. Her legs moved just like a full-grown swan, and her ankle bells tinkled mildly. The chivalrous princes assembled there were so overwhelmed by Rukmini's beauty that they became almost unconscious and fell from their horses and elephants. Full of lust, they hopelessly desired Rukmini's hand, comparing their own beauty to hers. Srimati Rukmini, however, was not interested in any of them. In her heart, she was simply expecting Krishna to come and carry her away. As she was adjusting the ornaments on a finger of her left hand, she happened to look upon the princes and suddenly saw that Krishna was present amongst them. Although Rukmini had never before seen Krishna, she was always thinking of him. Thus she had no difficulty recognizing him amongst the princely order. Krishna, unconcerned with the other princes, immediately took the opportunity to place Rukmini on his chariot, marked by a flag bearing an image of Garuda. He then proceeded slowly, without fear, taking Rukmini away, exactly as a lion takes a deer from the midst of jackals. Meanwhile, Balaram appeared on the scene with the soldiers of the Yadu dynasty. Jarasandh, who had many times experienced defeat by Krishna, roared, "How is this? Krishna is taking Rukmini away from us without opposition. What is the use of our being chivalrous fighters with arrows? My dear princes, just look! We are losing our reputation. He is just like a jackal taking booty from a lion." Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 53rd chapter of Krishna. Krishna kidnaps Rukmini. One important thing from the very end is that Rukmini had never actually seen Krishna face to face, but she had no trouble recognizing him in the midst of everyone else. We might not know exactly what our Krishna looks like face to face, but if we hear and we chant enough, we will have no trouble recognizing him when he appears in our life through the miracles and blessings that he will perform and give us. So sometimes we think we want something, and we've been contemplating it, writing about it, all the things. But when Krishna gives us the fulfillment of that desire, will we recognize it? I want to attune my mind to think about Krishna so much that I will see his blessings wherever they show up. And there I will look and I will see, there is Krishna in my life. I might not see him face to face, but I should always know Krishna is going to show up in my life, just the same way as he showed up for Rukmini. And of course, Krishna never shows up alone. He has his family, his friends, his paraphernalia. Sri Balaram will be with him. And I pray that Balaram, Baladev Chandra, blesses all of us. He is so sweet, so kind. And I know sometimes he can look a little bit rough and look a little bit angry. And so some people are like, sweet, kind? Actually, yeah. I've been a Balaram Bhakta for a very, very long time. He's so sweet and so kind. He's so soft-hearted, and he might get angry, but he never even holds on to that anger. And usually his anger is generally either to protect his brother or to protect Krishna Katha. So as a person who really enjoys Krishna Katha, speaking about Krishna, chanting the holy name, I pray for Balaram's protection. I pray that he will always come with his younger brother and forever stay by not just my side, but all of our sides. And I pray on this Ekadashi day to be able to tell Krishna about all of my friends, to be a messenger of good fortune about all of my friends. And then I pray that Krishna shows up in your life in such an extraordinary way that you absolutely know, without doubt, that was Krishna. Thank you so much, friends, for being with me. Thank you for allowing me to speak something about the holy name on this wonderful, wonderful day. I thank you all for being here. I'm forever, forever grateful to all of you. So thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Next week, I will be at a festival called Sadhu Sangha. So if you're able to go to the festival, I'll see you there. And if not, so sorry. But I'll try and be back the very week after that. I'll keep you all updated on the goings on. If you're not on Instagram, basically the only reason to have it is because I like to post really, really fun things about how romantic Krishna is and about how amazingly glorious Bhakti is in my life. So please stay up to date. Find me on Instagram, find me on Facebook, find me on YouTube, find me on Patreon. Just find me, please, find me. And let's stay in touch with one another. I'm looking forward to hearing from all of you. I hope you have a blissful and wonderful absolute Ekadashi day. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You all are the absolute best. All glories to all of the Vaishnavas, and I'll say it in the fancy, fancy way. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Shri Krishna Balarama ki jai. Rukmini Dwadasi ki jai. Ekadashi Devi ki jai. All glories to Srimad Bhagavatam. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. All glories to the telling of the stories of Krishna's unlimited and eternal pastimes. Krishna Katha ki jai. Thank you. Shishirada Govinda Dev Ki Jai. Virtual Vrindavan Ki Jai. You all make this place what it is, and it is now a holy place of pilgrimage. So I hope that we bathed in the purifying waters of Krishna's transcendental activities and adventures. I feel refreshed. I'm ready. I'm gonna go and figure out the rest of this day now. I'll see you all next time. Hare Krishna, Hare Bol, Jai to you all. See you soon.